Are we live now?
Not yet. Okay, I think you should be good.
Okay. Good morning. Today is Friday, February the 7th, 2025. I'm Delegate Edith Patterson, and welcome to the Southern Maryland delegation meeting. We are really excited. This morning, we have educators and also community leaders to offer updates on their agencies. And before we do that, I'm going to ask Delegate Todd Morgan if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Got it. Yes, ma'am.
Morning.
Morning. How are you?
Good.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate Morgan. And Delegate Long, thank you for modifying your schedule to be with us today because prayer is always needed as we deal with not only the business here, but business throughout the nation. Delegate Long. I thought he was on.
I think we just have Delegate Long staff on.
All right, I'll do a quick prayer. Let's get into a moment of prayer. Heavenly Father, as we gather here today, we ask that our divine blessings, intervention, and also guidance as we do the business of not only the state, but of our counties and of our nation. In thy name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right.
Amen.
We are really excited to have with us three leaders of our school systems. Um, and I'm going to ask each if they would just give us an overview between 5 and 10 minutes of what's going on at your schools and if there are any challenges or assistance we may offer to them. So I'm going to begin with Dr. Maria Navarro, Superintendent of Schools for Charles County. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Patterson. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to talk about the work that's happening in our school system and then regionally. I'm here with Dr. Smith and my counterparts in education, just to give you some briefings in terms of what's happening specifically in Charles County and then broader. So in Charles County, we are in the middle of an exciting school year again. We are focused on kickstarting our second system-wide strategic plan. So if you live in Charles County and you represent Charles County in the months of February and March, you will be hearing from me as I am getting together stakeholders, parents, students, community members, staff, to provide insight into what is our strategic plan going to look like for the next 4 years of the school system. We have a beautiful one-pager that talks about the results of our strategic plan, our first strategic plan, the last 4 years. It highlights our accomplishments in vastly increasing opportunities for students to take high school courses in middle school. We've expanded the opportunities for advanced placement courses, and we've also increased, almost doubled the number of students that are taking advanced placement courses, and our scores remain very, very high as well. We are continuing to work with my colleague, Dr. Wilson, who's here today, to expand early college programs across the system. And in the earlier grades, we've continued to focus on expanding pre-K. Charles County almost doubled the number of students. Actually, I think we just surpassed the doubling the number of students that are now entering our schools earlier as 3 and mostly 4-year-olds in our pre-K programs. I do want to say, because it's legislative season, that I do want to bring to this body as the Southern Maryland delegation that we, the superintendents, are very much following really what's happening with educational funding this year. As you are all aware, the governor's bill is out. It's the Excellence in Maryland Public Schools Act, Senate Bill 429, cross-referenced with House Bill 504. There are going to be two hearings, both in the Senate and the House around this bill. We do have some concerns that parts of this bill have funding that are slated to, per the current blueprint law, slated to go to school systems to continue the funding at the school system level for the initiatives outlined in the blueprint. However, some of these, in this bill, there are some parts that redirect some of that funding to go to MSD, the Department of Education, for different initiatives. And our concerns there lie that it will likely pull staffing and resources away from the schoolhouse. So as a group of superintendents, I think you will hear from us that advocacy and the concern that this is a time where we need resources at the schoolhouse. We need to continue the outlined funding that the blueprint has. We've also called out the need to relook at the calculations of the blueprint, but at a minimum, not take funding away from the school systems for sort of centralized state level functions. The other thing I wanted to just quickly mention is, the superintendents came together, and as you're aware, we are all in very different districts with different situations and circumstances, but the superintendents were able to come together across the 24 school systems and come together with some language that we think now, having implemented the blueprint for 3 years, makes the blueprint stronger in terms of core reform efforts that it has within it. And so we made some recommendations, if you will, some curative language, and that is now been filed as a bill. It's Senate Bill 852. And I would just encourage, and I know that Dr. Smith is also going to talk a little bit more about this, but I would encourage all of you, as you are hearing about what's happening in public education, that you look at the recommendations that all 24 superintendents, whether it was from St. Mary's County, Charles County, Washington County, Baltimore City, the superintendents do agree on certain things that need to be reformed or rethought in the blueprint to focus on the core reform efforts, and that is Senate Bill 852. Dr. Patterson, I'll yield my time so that others can speak. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And also thank you for being one of the presenters at our joint hearing 2 weeks ago. You were very effective. All right. You mentioned Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith, we would like to hear from you from St. Mary's County School System. Welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with all of you today. I know certainly for all of our elected representatives, this is a very busy time up in Annapolis, and a dizzying array of information is being kind of waterfalled on everybody. In St. Mary's County, we continue to make incremental progress in our recovery from COVID. We see rebounding, hopeful data not only in attendance and dysregulated behavior incidents in schools and things such as that, but also incremental increases on county-created assessments as well as state assessments. And then also for all of those nationally normed reference tests, AP testing, SAT, ACT, PSAT, all of these, we really need to take note of the fact that Maryland, in many ways, leads the nation with some of our exceptional gifted learners, as well as bringing everybody up and closing gaps. In St. Mary's County, we find ourselves having a very successful year. Again, a true return to normalcy. We've implemented many things that have helped us focus our work in the classroom, including a comprehensive cell phone policy. I realize that legislators are entering, I believe there's 4 or 5 different bills telling us how to go, offering a pathway for how us to go, how we're to go about our business. But if we take the time to really speak to each one of the school systems, you'll find that we've found solutions and are working towards having a truly focused classroom. The cell phones policy that we implemented this year in St. Mary's County has definitely afforded teachers the opportunity to target their time and to avoid distractions. And it has not only increased instructional attention in the classroom, but it's also decreased all of those attendant misbehaviors that come with students communicating throughout the day with one another. Maria and I talked a little bit briefly back and forth, texting back and forth this week in preparation for our time with you today. And I echo all that Dr. Navarro has shared. And I'm sure that you were all, you've taken a look at the testimony from Sean Johnson, the MSEA Executive Director, presented before the joint meeting of the AIB and MSDE, I believe, last week. It is a two-page summary that really delves into the Excellence in Maryland Public Education Act. And at its core, well, there are many things that we could discuss and ultimately we might come to a place of support. At its core, it is a cut to foundational funding to school systems at the exact time when you should not be cutting foundational support to school systems. MSEA has taken a lot of data and gone through the next up to 2033, what the impacts, the cumulative impacts would be for Southern Maryland, as well as all school systems across the state. And for Charles County, I think it's about $185 million worth of reduced funding through the run through 2023. For St. Mary's, it's $105 million. And for Calvert, I think it's about $85 million. So we're talking about a third of $1 billion reduction in forecast support for public schools. And it isn't something as simply easy to dismiss as, well, we're not going to fund collaborative time. There has been generally a discussion that collaborative time means that you have to hire 15,000 teachers, and a close reading of the law and an understanding of what the intent was not that we would increase the teaching ranks by 20%, but that we would find creative ways within a school day to allow teachers to have 60% of their time in direct instruction and 40% of the time doing all the things that make sure that 60% is as effective and efficient as possible. So I encourage everybody to really take the time to deeply discuss with the practitioners of education what's going on in schools, what's being successful, and where the money spent is yielding an academic benefit to students. So we're really here to answer any questions that you may have. As always, no matter what the role is in public schools, we are all educators. And so an engaged population really talking about what's going on in schools is going to be the best way to make decisions. We recognize that money is dear. We just presented our budget in January in St. Mary's County. We formalize it and send it off to our county commissioners the first week of February so that they can have the longest time to deliberate on resources available and how to allocate those. It's been a very challenging year because the Maryland State Department of Education sent out state funding numbers that were based on past law and did not take into account what the impacts would be if the Excellence in Maryland Public Schools Act goes through. But we have to plan for both because the session probably won't come to a comprehensive conclusion until April, and that's far too deep into the budget conversation to make mid-course corrections. All other initiatives, such as this with education and funding implications, are usually done with a year run-up so that everybody can prepare appropriately for what comes next. In this culture of chaos that we seem to be living in every single day, where we watch the news and try to figure out what our role is, we really need to make sure that we are providing stability for our children and for those who work most closely with our children. And with that, I am here to answer any questions you may have. And thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Smith. We're going to have comments from Jacqueline Jacobs, the Calvert County Chief Academic Officer, and then we will answer questions that members may have. but I see what you've done. You'll have covered, thank you very much, various topics, particularly the cell phone policies. All right, well, welcome, Ms. Jacobs to Southern Maryland, and you're on next.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I really appreciate it. I'm here on behalf of Dr. Townsell, who was unable to make it today. As Dr. Navarro has shared and Dr. Smith, we are having a great year in Calvert County. One of the things that we've also implemented is the cell phone policy, and we're seeing positive impacts with that, and really seeing how our kids are shining and really focusing in on the day. Some big highlights for us is also in our pre-K setting. We believe that within Calvert County Public Schools, our 4-year-olds who meet that Tier 1 economics piece, their needs are being met within our school system and with our private providers. A concern for us with that is how we are able to expand both through space and staffing and partnering with our private providers. And with it being through a grant, that also makes it difficult for us. We have people who are really wanting to partner with Calvert County Public Schools, but with the grant process of the pre-K expansion grant with private providers, we're finding that some of our providers aren't being awarded that grant. So we're really trying to work through what that looks like to be able to provide the best beginning educational foundation for our students as they enter our school system. One of the things that we're focusing on within Calvert County Public Schools is really looking through the lens of a multi-tiered system of support. So making sure that we have strong Tier 1 instruction happening in every classroom, that our students feel safe and secure and have what they need in order to be successful in school. And we do realize that some students might need a little bit more. So what are those supports looking like, and how are we able to provide them within the school day? Another piece that we, as Dr. Navarro shared, they're going into the second phase of a strategic plan. We just went through our strategic planning process. And so we are now in that first year of our strategic plan and really focusing on student excellence, that culture of learning, organizational accountability, and how we engage our community within what's going on in Calvert County Public Schools. Both Dr. Navarro and Dr. Smith shared a lot of the concerns that we have in Calvert County Public Schools, specifically with funding. Some of the things that haven't been mentioned yet would be the possibility of the retirement, moving back to locals, and the impact that would have, and the uncertainty really around the Time to Care Act and the impact that that will also have on budgets. We are able to do a lot of things, and we are being really creative, but we are really worried about the funding piece of everything and our ability to meet those requirements because the funding's not there. Calvert County last year was really impacted through our state aid funding. We were able to work through that and have that back for the upcoming school year, but it still has a huge impact on what we can do and what we are able to staff and ensure that our students are receiving the best education that they can and that the supports are happening at the schoolhouse. So I appreciate your time today. I'm able to answer questions at this time. The last thing I did want to add that I forgot was I so appreciate our partnership with St. Mary's in Charles County and the College of Southern Maryland in our early college program. It has been a great collaborative effort, learning from each other and really growing that program. So I wanted to thank Dr. Wilson, Dr. Smith, and Dr. Navarro for that partnership and how we're able to work together as a Southern Maryland area. So thank you.
Well, thank you all very, very much. And before we have questions, I do want to thank you for coordinating your responses, because some of the issues I serve on Ways and Means a committee in the House, and certainly some of the issues you've talked about, whether it's language reform or the core reform of education. And Dr. Smith, you're correct. Several delegates have cell phone policies, and I believe what we're going to do is possibly coordinate them, combine them, but certainly give the schools autonomy because the schools are different and we want to make sure that you do have some leverage in terms of how it is implemented in your settings. All right, Kara, if you can tell me if there are any questions.
I don't see any hands up at the moment.
All right, and thank you for providing the bills, the Senate Bill 852 and Senate Bill 429, House Bill 504. We will certainly look at that and maybe come back in terms of our positions regarding those two initiatives. So, but don't leave yet because we'd also like now to hear a segue into Dr. Wilson because you've been cited by all superintendents acknowledging the partnership and the collaboration with the College of Southern Maryland. So welcome, Dr. Wilson.
Thank you so much, Delegate Patterson. Appreciate the invitation. It's so great to see colleagues on the call. So wonderful partnerships and appreciate those partnerships. I was hoping to be able to share a presentation, but I don't think the sharing feature is on. It looks like I'm not able to do that. Are we able to do that?
You have the ability to.
Okay, it says the host isn't allowing sharing for this meeting. Let me try it again.
Okay,
No.
I'm sorry about that.
No
They
worries.
gave us only limited amount of control, but you should be able to. I'm looking.
Okay,
All right. My apologies.
no worries. Would you like me to send it to you and maybe you can share it for me?
No, not at this point because I'm still admitting people in and out of the meeting.
I see. Okay. All right. Why don't I just start talking and then you let me know if the sharing feature is enabled, okay? We just launched our strategic plan Built for Success in August, and the strategic plan, a 5-year plan, is centered around 3 pillars. Access, meaning we welcome everyone by removing barriers. Mobility, which means we take persistence and retention seriously, that we examine our culture, our policies, and our practices, both philosophically and procedurally, and we do whatever we can to mitigate for those for greater retention and persistence for our students. And mobility, which means that we offer educational programs and pathways to improve lives. Underneath that access pillar, which again is we welcome everyone by removing barriers, our strategy 1.3 is to nurture and grow sustainable relationships with our public, private, and homeschool K-12 partners. So I know that I was asked to specifically speak about our early college and dual enrollment programs. So I will talk about those and give you some high-level overview around that and invite my colleagues on the call to feel free to chime in if there's something that they would like to add. We are thrilled about the growth in the dual enrollment and the early college pathways and really have been able to, can you see that? Looks like I have sharing privileges now. How about that? Are you able to see the slide?
Yes, we can see them. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. All right, fantastic. Okay, so as you look here, you'll see everyone's able to see it. Yes, we're good.
Yes, we're good.
Okay, you're able to see the differences between the early college and the dual enrollment frameworks. So early college, we have in Charles and Calvert counties. Classes are taught all day on our campuses. We have different course offerings, but they're designed to meet 2 pathways: our Associate in Applied Science, which is a workforce leading right into employment on business management, and our General Studies Transfer Certificate, where students earn credit to transfer into a 4-year university or college. Courses provide high school and college credit, and we're adding more pathways in the future that are not available in the high schools. Our dual enrollment exists in every high school in each county, all 3 counties. Classes are taught in the high schools, and some are even taught here at CSM. Many different course offerings, but they have to be from an approved course list. And courses provide credit, but not college degree certificates. So for our early college, you'll see there we have special admissions program available to high school juniors, and seniors. So our Charles County juniors are able to apply for and complete one of the following. It's either in business administration, medical coding, or pharmacy technician. So we are really excited about adding the medical coding or pharmacy technician because we're busing students to our regional Hughesville campus for those opportunities. Our Calvert and Charles seniors can also complete the general studies transfer certificate. And it says we're working on a proposed pathway for teachers and students in the teaching academy there for St. Mary's, but we'll have some very exciting news to share very soon around that. And we're really thrilled about that opportunity. As you know, we hear really often about the teacher shortage here, not just in our Southern Maryland region, but also throughout the state. So this is something that I know really all of our superintendents are passionate about, and we're just really excited to be able to partner with the different school systems to make this happen. Early college is an all-day program, classes taken at all of our campuses, as you can see there, except for Leonardtown. And then the early college courses are predetermined by CSM to meet program requirements. So they're taught by trained faculty in our classrooms and labs, again, taking place during the school day, integrating with our own general population, and designed to meet both high school requirements and CSM program requirements. Our early college programs, as I mentioned, are a transfer certificate, as well as for juniors, our CTE pathways, career and technical ed, which is the medical coding and the pharmacy tech, and our business administration associate of applied science degree. It's also important to note that early college must adhere to Maryland Higher Education Commission guidelines, as well as the Maryland Department of Education parameters before we're able to offer these programs. I mentioned the general study certificate. All these courses are designed to transfer, so you can kind of see what we offer there. They can either transfer to CSM and earn their associate's degree, or they can transfer to a four-year university for a non-STEM degree there. So you see the possibilities of the courses that students take for that. And we know that the benefit for students taking dual enrollment in early college classes is that they save time and money, which is incredibly important. And there's some data that's been collected from the Aspen Institute for Community Colleges that shows that students who take dual enrollment or early college courses are much more likely not only to transfer to a four-year university, but to persist with baccalaureate degree attainment. So it is a direct correlation between students who are more successful when they actually persist to their university studies. And we see that regardless of race or gender or any other demographics, that it just applies broadly, which is a wonderful metric and reason to continue to promote and support these programs for our students. Transfer agreements that we have for our general studies transfer certificate. You can see some of those transfer pathways that we have there. Again, it's a 25 credit certificate, right? It typically completes the first year of our Associate of Arts degree. It also can fit into the Associate of Science, meaning if they want to do a STEM pathway, but we have to shape what those math and science courses are because, of course, you know that those math and science requirements are slightly different from the Associate of Arts and the Associate of Science. The current pathways that we have that map as a 1+1+2, meaning 1 year for the certificate, general studies certificate, 1 year with us to finish the associate's degree after they finish the certificate, and then 2 years to finish the bachelor's. And so you see that we have some right here in St. Mary's College, Salisbury, and others that we continue to work on to make sure those pathways are seamless for our students. And we have over 300 articulation agreements here at CSM with over 70 university partners. So these are not exhaustive. We have a lot of options for our students. If you look at the business administration associate's degree here, again, these are students who can enter the workforce directly in accounting, or they can transfer if they'd like to do that. And those are some of the topics that are covered in this business administration associate's degree right there on the right. So we have many students who are interested in that. And that is one of our most popular programs at CSM, is in the business administration associate's degree. The medical coding certificate that we're just kind of getting off the ground Capacity for that is 30 juniors. Again, that's one of our CTE pathways there too. So classes are held at our regional Hughesville campus on Monday, Wednesday, and our general studies courses are held here at La Plata on Tuesday and Thursday. Students can enter directly into the workforce. There's a huge demand for folk who can do medical coding. You're aware that that's folk that help with insurance billing behind the scenes in medical offices. And they can actually even take one more year at CSM if they'd like to earn an AAS, Associate of Applied Science, in Health Information Management if they'd like, and then transfer to a 4-year degree. So we're excited to be able to offer that and have students come to our beautiful new LEED certified Center for Health Sciences location at the Hughesville campus. Likewise, we offer another CTE pathway in pharmacy tech. This is a 2-year certificate program designed for students who are interested in pharmacy programs or pharmacy fields. They can go right into the workforce with this. They can continue their studies with us, or they can transfer. And the capacity for that is also 15 juniors to be able to start that pathway. Just some demographic information for you around our early college students. If you look at the top, you'll see the red information across, shows you the number of students we have and shows you the increase that we've had in our early college pathways. We've almost tripled it from where we started, 67 students. Now we have 181 students. So that's fantastic. We are thrilled about that. You will notice with the male and female demographic percentages, if you look all the way to the far right, fall 2024, there's 66% female students, 33% male, and that actually kind of mirrors our larger demographic here at CSM and nationally. I know the governor spoke a little bit about wanting, giving opportunities for our men in the state for employment, returning to school, et cetera. So you'll find that our demographics locally reflect the demographics nationally around female and male attendance in higher ed settings. And then you can see the other demographics there. So I was mentioning to you earlier that students who start with early college or dual enrollment, that the national data has shown that those students who attain those degrees have access to college, have exposure to a college environment, learn how to navigate a college system, right? Because many of these students can be first generation college students. That is why early college and dual enrollment was originally designed, was to help those most vulnerable populations be able to have access to a free education so they can have social and economic mobility. When you look at that and you see how our African American students, the percentage, Hispanic students, et cetera, Asian, you can see that we have a very diverse demographic there in our early college population, and that ensures that there is equitable opportunity for students even beyond. So completion rates, we believe in looking at data at CSM. In fact, we are in the process of standing up a data dashboard so we can be data responsive and data informed. And so I always have my team drill down and let's see where are the gaps, where are the opportunities, where is the achievement areas that we need to mitigate so that we can make sure we put targeted resources and supports in place for these students. So when you look at Charles County, we can see out of 63 students, 53 earned the general studies transfer certificate, 84% completion, which is fantastic. Then we ask the question, how many of those students converted to full-time enrollment at CSM after they completed that certificate? And we show that we have 7 students that continue their studies at CSM. And we also have those students as a part of our commencement ceremonies, our graduation ceremonies. They march in, they come across the stage. We invite the superintendents to be on the stage with us when it's their students. So it's a really wonderful, special moment. And it's such an animated, lively group when they're in the room. So we just love that. You can see from the year after that, 23-24, you had 42 students out of 61 that earned the general studies transfer certificate. So the completion rate went down some. Dr. Navarro and I have been talking about how we shore up supports for those students. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a future slide. We have 22 students who continued at CSM, okay? And we realized in looking at that data, remember I said we're drilling down to see where the areas of concern are, that most who didn't complete complete were due to math, okay? And so we're looking at how we can help support our students in math proficiency. And then at Calvert County, it was 16 out of 16 students who earned their general studies, so 100% completion. 8 students continued their studies at CSM. In this upcoming fiscal year, or in this current fiscal year, I should say, Charles County will graduate its inaugural business cohort. So we're really excited about that, to see those students walk across the stage. And again, as we mentioned, we're looking at various math pathways and program opportunities that will allow more students to successfully complete their programs. So when we look at the dual enrollment and early college student demographics here, you can see with our dual enrollment students that we have a number, significant high number of students who are in our dual enrollment pathways that bump that number right on up, and you can see how it's been growing steadily over time. So we're really excited about looking at those numbers increasing even more moving forward, and we're glad to see that positive trajectory. And I will share also that with our homeschool population, that's also growing, and so we have support for our homeschool students at all of our campuses, and plan on expanding that to Calvert County this upcoming year because of the demand. So we're also supporting the homeschool populations. Resources available. So we have a new student orientation 1 to 2 weeks before the start of classes. And so students have access to our email, our learning management system. They get their class schedule. We are looking at creating summer bridge programs for students who might need additional support in certain classes. So we're in the conversations about doing that. We just stood up as a part of our strategic plan and opened it up this January, a writing center. So we had a smaller math resource center that offered free tutoring. We have relocated that and added a writing center, and it's now in our library, okay? And so now we have a math resource center and a writing center that's right there in our library. We've added more staff to our library, so we've extended our hours. So students can go into the math writing center and resource center and get free tutoring both face-to-face and free tutoring online. So we have that and expanded library services. So students can get the resources they need in real time and be able to get the support to be successful in their courses. We also use a system called Early Alerts, Starfish, which lets us know when students are struggling in the moment in a class so that we can do direct outreach and intervention and refer them to tutoring services as needed. They have access to academic workshops, student life activities. We have a robust student life activities. We've opened up our fitness center in our PE building so students can participate in that, and a variety of campus clubs that we have, one of which is a new multicultural center that we opened up on campus. Of course, they have access to counselors and academic and career counseling, all of our transfer information and services, and our disability support services. We hired a new person in disability services this summer who came from Northern Virginia Community College. She's just wonderful, is doing workshops and resources, and we're doing an ADA assessment of our facilities to make sure that we have appropriate kind of navigations for our students who have various levels of abilities. So proposed future programs. So that's where we are. Where are we trying to go? So this is what we're in conversations with now. Our Director of Ed Partnerships, Sylvia Royster, and Linda Forrest, who is our coordinator, and others have been working steadily with our county partners and their teams. They've been wonderful to work with to think through future programs that meet the needs of those counties. So we want to customize this to meet their needs. So you can see some of the conversations that are happening for programs to add in the future. And you notice for all of them, it has that Associate of Arts in Teaching because there is such a large demand for that program. And we're in conversations with USMSM also about how we can help support that, and Jay Perman at the University of Maryland System, the chancellor. So we are excited about those possibilities at CSM and about making those resources accessible to students, and really, really grateful to continue to work with our county partners and our four-year university partners, because CSM is a gateway. You know, we look at students who come to us and through us to the workforce and to our university partners. And so our opportunities are always to provide students with access, give students the resources they need to maintain their momentum, all for the goal of them increasing their social and economic mobility. And those are our three pillars: access, momentum, and mobility. So thank you for the time and the opportunity, and appreciate always the ability to be able to promote what we do and why we do it.
Well, thank you very, very much, all of you. As you were talking, I said to myself, when you think about the state of education in Southern Maryland, I think we're in very capable hands. And it's very rewarding. I think we're really unique. We probably don't tout enough what we're doing and the achievements, but thank you so much working collaboratively together, because this is what is needed in order to meet the needs of our diverse populations. I have one question, Dr. Wilson. Resources for early college, how is that funded?
So we get funding through the state, and of course, we have support through our respective counties.
Okay.
And then we, of course, at CSM, see our early college students as our students, right?
Okay.
So when we're resourced for the College of Southern Maryland population, that includes early college students because they're our students.
Okay.
And we are proud to have them, and dual enrollment, as our students. So whatever resources we have for any student at CSM, we have for them. Now, thank you for the question. We are, as you know, with our
I know where this is heading.
I wasn't going to go there, but since you
I know
kind of
where
gave
it's
me a
heading.
nice little lead in, Delegate Patterson, then I will share that we are tremendously grateful that the proposed budget looks at a 4.4% increase for community colleges broadly, but with the new CADE funding recalculation that occurred, two community colleges would potentially be negatively impacted by this CADE funding reallocation. That's CCBC, the Community College of Baltimore County, and CSM. Okay. And when we look at the readjustments that happened last year and this year in the funding, then that could be a $1.6 million hit for CSM. So we want to serve our students. We want to serve our students well, but we would certainly appreciate that support. And I'm thankful. I saw Delegate Kevin Harris around the table when we actually did our testimony yesterday in Annapolis, yesterday morning, a few of us. Brad Phillips from Maryland Association of Community Colleges, myself, and Sandra Kurtnitis from CCBC, asking for supports and a hold harmless clause to be reinstated because our enrollment is up. Our enrollment is up double digits this spring semester, the most it's ever been since I've been here, and it's been up consistently since January 2023. So we could use the resources, and I want to serve all those wonderful and amazing students that we're fortunate to have.
Well, thank you very much. And you're absolutely correct. Delegate Harris is the key person to advocate on the behalf of the College of Southern Maryland. So thank you very much. Kara, can you advise if there are any questions?
No questions.
All right, well, thank you again very, very much. And I would encourage colleagues to visit the campuses, because a lot of activities going on. I know I always enjoy being there. So, all right, we're going to now move into Rural Maryland Council. Charlotte Davis will give us an update.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the delegation. My name is Charlotte Davis. I'm the Executive Director of the Rural Maryland Council, and I'm going to slightly shift gears today and talk about broadband. You know, as we were hearing about the students in high school and the community college, they need access to broadband in order to do their work. And so just here to give a quick update on what the state's been doing and where we are in terms of our broadband expansion and build out. So I wanted to show you this map. This is the map that's on the Office of Statewide Broadband. We are expecting an updated map. This is particularly focused on Southern Maryland. You'll see these blue splotches, and those are the areas that lack access to broadband. We still believe there are about 22,000 households across the state that lack access to the home. But you'll see those crosshatches where those are the areas where the state has invested to address that build out there. looking at inclusion, this is the map related to digital inclusion. When we think about inclusion as not only that access to the assets itself, but also needing to have devices, they need to be able to afford that service, and then they need the skills to utilize it. So this is the digital inclusion map, and you'll see the red are the areas that we definitely see gaps in digital inclusion. The governor in January did issue an executive order creating the statewide digital infrastructure group. Among many of its responsibilities, it is to be improving broadband access across the state and addressing last mile connectivity in the rural areas. We are expected to get funding through the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program. This was part of President Biden's infrastructure law passed in 2024. Maryland, we are actually still undergoing the process. We have not received any federal funds under BEAD. Given what we're experiencing at the federal level, we're concerned about our ability to access these dollars. We believe we'll still see the construction dollars, but we do think that the equity dollars are going to be threatened. So Delaware, just for comparison, they have actually completed their BEAD process and they have actually received funds. They are slated to have universal service across their state in the next year. So for affordability, I just want to let folks know that the Affordable Connectivity Program, which was the major tool that we used to hook up households to broadband, that program ended last year. It was funded by the FCC. That provided that $30 a month subsidy to households. And then Maryland at one point did offer a corresponding benefit that also ended in February, added a $15 per month subsidy through the Office of Statewide Broadband. So right now we've currently got no tool to assist households in meeting their internet needs. I did want to bring the attention to New York State passed an Affordable Broadband Act. It was challenged by the providers, but last month the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear the ISP challenge. So that law has been implemented and it's set to cap of $20 for broadband services to low-income households. California is also following suit. We're asking legislators to look at these as potential for, Maryland's broadband needs. We think some of the big providers already do provide this service. I know there are other issues related to the Universal Service Fund, but we just want to make sure that all our households are able to access broadband. It's not just important for education, but also healthcare, employment, and other sectors. So just to let you know, the Rural Maryland Council, we do fund some broadband projects. Since 2022, we've funded about $662,000 in infrastructure projects. We have funded one or two digital inclusion projects, mainly targeted to veterans. I'll note the Lifestyles received some funding for their project in Charles County. I wanted to mention the Tri-County Council of Southern Maryland and their partnership with the Maryland Broadband Cooperative. They did utilize some of the Rural Maryland Prosperity Investment Fund dollars, as well as the Rural Maryland Economic Development Fund. Did want to mention we are receiving a cut in our, we did receive a cut in our operating budget. We are cut 30% from 9 million to 6 million. This will impact our funding that's available for entrepreneurship, small business development, the infrastructure, and the healthcare. It's also going to impact the funding available to the regional councils. Also want to mention the Southern Maryland Ag Development Commission. They are also cut to $750,000 in this year's budget and then phased out into future years. We strongly support SMATIC and its efforts at agribusiness development. And we also think that all the regional council, we should have a SMATIC in every regional council. So just let you know, here's the funding through the Rural Maryland Prosperity Investment Fund to the regional councils. And this is the impact to Southern Maryland. So we have given out since 2019 72 grants totaling over $7 million. A good portion of those have gone to Charles County and the need there. So we ask that, you know, if we understand it's a difficult year, a lot of tough choices. We think these funds have an impact in Southern Maryland. With that said, we are grateful for the support we are getting through the budget, and we are expected to open up our grant program Monday, April 21st, with a letter of intent due Friday, May 16th. End of April, we'll be doing in-person information session in Southern Maryland, as well as online webinars. And of course, if you know any organizations that are looking for funding, please send them our way. We're happy to talk to them. And with that, I appreciate the time to talk to you today and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Charlotte. Thank you very much for giving us an overview also of where we are with broadband. Are there any questions of members? All right, if not, there is legislation sponsored by Delegate Roberson and Ruthie Davis. You have a request for us to approve the letter.
That's correct. Letter of support for the legislation.
I believe members have a chance or receive the letter. If you would just send an email back to us authorizing me to sign off on the letter. Can you briefly describe what's in it, the contents? We know it's
Yes.
okay.
Yes, happy to. And thank you for the opportunity to voice my support for this bill. It has to do with career counseling for middle and high school students under the blueprint. And very basically, what the bill seeks to do is solidify the career counseling program for middle and high school students under Pillar 3 and continue the partnerships that make up that program. And based on guidance received from the Attorney General's office and the AIB, there is no fiscal impact to the bill. And I might add that the bill has support and endorsement of MACO, as well as the Maryland Workforce Association, which is an association of the 13 workforce directors, such as myself, around the state. Maryland's economy certainly depends on a well-prepared, career-ready talent pipeline. And by ensuring that each county board of education dedicates funding to local workforce development boards for career counseling services, House Bill 772 creates an essential bridge between education and the workforce needs of our region. So the partnership between local education agencies, workforce boards, and community colleges and businesses is vital to ensure that students receive relevant career guidance tailored to Maryland's in-demand industries. These collaborations will help address skills gaps, reduce youth unemployment, and align student aspirations with real workforce opportunities.
Okay.
So it is with great intentionality that workforce development boards were deemed essential partners in the legislation that created the blueprint. We, as workforce boards, have direct connections with local employers and real-time labor market data, ensuring that career counseling aligns with in-demand jobs and economic needs. The bill ensures that students receive industry-informed guidance rather than just generic career advice.
Okay. What I'm going to offer is, I don't know if you have letters of support or if there are letters of support from the 3 county superintendents or boards. I would encourage the leaders as well as Dr. Wilson to look at the legislation and offer an opinion, whether it's information, whether support, so that when the bill is heard, it will be very effective. So thank you very, very much for that. And for Delegate Roberson. Again, it's House Bill 772. All right, John, you are on. We are excited about February 20th.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Thank you very much, Delegate Patterson, for inviting me. We have continued to get some new sponsors, additional sponsors for the legislative reception All the planning is in place, and all of the people who are going to be having booths there are in place as well. We look forward to having good attendance, particularly not just from the Southern Maryland delegation, but people from the Eastern Shore, all of the rural counties. And we're usually there are several cabinet secretaries there. We're expecting that again at this year's event. So we're fully prepared. We have gotten several new sponsors, including a new Patuxent sponsor for $2,000 just in the last few days.
Well, that's great to hear. And you're absolutely absolutely right. It's going to be held at the graduate.
It is at the graduate.
Okay.
It'll be 2 hours. It's normally 7 to 9, but we'll probably have it open for people to come in at least a half hour early. So if you get an opportunity to come over earlier, getting out of committee meetings, you're welcome to come earlier.
Thank you so much. Are there any comments or questions from my colleagues? We have about 1 minute. All right. Well, thank you all very, very much. Thank you, Kara, for providing the technology for this. Members and of the organization of the Southern Maryland delegation, we invite you to come back February 21st, March 7th, and March 21st for our last 3 meetings. Have a great weekend, and thank you for being present.